Hey everyone, welcome to the Down Level Podcast. This is going to be our special Christmas episode and episode 64, I believe. So let's get into this and start talking about great Christmas memories and fun times, presents we got, what we wish we could have gotten, stuff like that. The
Cricket.
silence is oh
Yes. Let David go first.
Let me go first.
I'm sure you have lots of tales of Christmas.
I mean, as I think about it, right? Christmas is just always. I don't know. It's always a consistent time of year, right? It's always just one of the few times that like all of my family would actually get together, sit down. Usually we would go over to my grandparents' house and we would play spades tournaments, right? Like that's where a lot of my board gaming habit, I think, came from, was because every major family event always had some kind of game going on, a card game, dominoes, something was going on. And it was always, grandma was cooking for a little while. The kids would usually be in another room, either, watching something, but all the adults were sitting in the kitchen generally, and there was a game of some type going on. So that's really the majority of Christmas in my mind is those moments, spending those times playing those games. It was a big event whenever you finally got invited up to the game table, right? Because before that, you were just a snot-nosed little kid that was running around eating mac and cheese, watching whatever, random special was on the TV. But whenever you finally got the chance to walk up there and say, hey, mom's not playing this next round, can I play? And it was like, oh yeah, come on, sit down and get to learn the rules, go through the whole system, and then fail horribly and be made fun of it for a minute, but then you eventually catch on and develop and get better, right? So that's where pretty almost every the two major holidays, right? Thanksgiving and Christmas, that's really what stand out to me every year. But now that my grandmother's passed and my grandfather's in kind of failing health, right, that's kind of gone on the wayside a little bit. But overall, that's really what kind of springs to mind whenever I think of this particular time of year.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you graduate from the kids' table to the adult table when you get to eat.
Well, it's bad when you're like 13, 14, you're still having to sit at the kids' table because there's too many
Not
adults in the
enough room.
family for you to be able to sit up there. I remember me and Ember being over at Uncle Gene's and stuff, and yeah, me having to sit with Tyler and Ryan and Dallas, and not being able to sit up there because between all of Gene's family and Gene and Debbie and her family and us. So but with everything going on, I mean, I've been trying to get everything decorated enough, but it's been a horrible month. Well, not that horrible. I mean, some things are changing, so I got a good Christmas present.
This is the first year I've not decorated or did anything because of all the construction going on in the house. And then the roof, I just knew that, I'd put the lights up and they'd show up to do the roof. And sure enough, I get a phone call Friday evening. Oh, we'll be there in the morning to start. I'm like, okay. So it feels off. It doesn't feel like Christmas. And Christmas is a big thing for me. I always decorate, on 2 trees or, one big tree. And it's like all the presents are hidden, but there's nothing to put them under. So I think we'll play Frisbee with them this Christmas. I'll just hum them at people. Whoever catches them gets to keep it.
You should just make an arts and crafts tree that's just sits on your wall.
Well, my tree is here, but remember when I got out of the hospital, Ember tried to take it down. She didn't realize I wanted to keep it up.
Yeah.
And so when she unplugged one of the cords, it blew out all the lights on it. It's like every single built-in light is burned out.
Wow. Funny thing about ours, so we have cats, And the second those trees come out, the cats are all in the tree. And two of the cats are too fat to actually get in the tree. So they just kind of like hang around the feet of it, chewing on the fake, leaves and stuff down, or pine down at the bottom. But one of them, the youngest one, well, she's actually not the youngest, she's the middle one, but she's the only one that can actually get in the tree. And there will be multiple mornings where I'll be getting up, getting ready to go to work, and I'll step out and I'll turn over and I'll look, and she's 3/4 of the way up the tree, just clinging on there. She'll look over at me, hop off, and run away. Well, I don't know what she's been doing. I don't know if it's just her clawing her way up, but the entire tree isn't out. It's just the middle section. So like we have lights at the top and we have lights at the base. The middle is completely dead. It's gone. It doesn't make sense to me, because you would think that if the middle was dead, then the continuation to the top would also be dead, but somehow it's
That's
not.
how mine is. If I had two go out last year, and so it looked like it was lit at the top, out, lit in the middle, out, and at the very bottom is lit. And all of those were where there were plugs. And I don't know how the wiring works on it, but this time it's just all out. And what's funny is, since the lights are out, the cat doesn't want to play with it anymore. So, but I remember one year we'd had a cat named Witchy, and we got Smoke, and he was a kid, and he was a terror. And we were getting ready, and I successfully kept him out of the tree. Nothing was broken. And so one weekend we were going to go visit other family members and do Christmas and come back. And it wasn't quite Christmas yet. And I go, oh, I forgot something. And I tell them, get in the car. And I walk back in. And I mean, we were out the house like 5 minutes, not even that long.
Yeah.
And I walk in, and it looked like our tree blew up. It's laying on the side. Packages are ripped up. And I'm like, what the? And I'm like, and this little bitty gray kitten sticks its head up out of the tree. It looks at me, goes, meow. And I went, "Urgh," and I instantly became Homer Simpson and started chasing this kitten around my house. I was going to strangle it, but it got away from me. And he did it for about 3 years. He was just, we had to watch him. Had a water bottle ready to go with that long stream on it, just catch him as he was in mid-jump. But after that, he grew up enough to leave the tree alone, except for the tinsel.
Yeah, that was always...
He'd like to eat it, and then he'd walk around trailing a new tail after it had passed through his digestive system. And he looked like a walking little grenade. Just pull the pin and watch him explode, silver and gold everywhere. But
that
I remember telling
dynamite.
Vince was like, "Why don't you pull it out, Dad? That's really good. It's your cat." Bylaw says you pull that out. You rip that. You become Ripper.
Yeah. Colin, have you done any decorating?
We haven't had a tree or done decorations in at least 10 years.
Oh, okay.
And this is the first year in 25 years that I haven't been depressed. Honestly, seasonal depression. Every time December 1st has hit around, it's been bad. This is the first year I don't have it. And I think it's because of the grandbaby.
Because of the what?
Because of the
grandbaby.
I think that's the reason. But
yeah.
We just hand out stuff to the boys and just, there you go. Cook food, move on. We really don't do anything. And as far as like Christmas memories go, honestly, don't have many. I mean, we gathered every year at Grandma Jean's house, and we all sat at the big table, and we had dinner and we opened presents. But other than that, I don't remember much of it.
Because I remember one year y'all got that motion sensor Enterprise. One of y'all did. There was the one that if you lifted it up, went and if you went down, and then you hit a button on it and it made the sound, and it had the hologram along the engine, the cell, which had no purpose at all.
Don't remember.
Oh, I know you had it, because I was trying to figure out how to
Randy.
steal it. Well, no, I don't know which one of you boys had it. I just remember walking in the room going, "What's this?" and going, "It makes sound."
Wow. I
And
have no memory of that at all.
one year I had, it was called the Avenger or something like that. It looked like an arrow, and it was really cool. It had you could pull the head off of it, take the engine part off, stick it on, or you could make it. It looked like an arrow, but it was the same. That there was a lot of those ships that came out that did that sound effect. And man, it was my favorite thing to just sit in bed and just do. I just remember laying back in the bed and playing with it and daydreaming. And then one day I walked in and my brother goes, "Hey, catch!" And it was Gene. He goes, "Hey, catch!" And I was like, "What?" Oh, poosh.
And it shattered into
In
a
my
million
dream.
pieces.
Yeah, he did the same thing with my Enterprise.
A lot of your
I got-
model enterprises got
One of
broken
my
either
model
because of us.
Enterprises. I come walking home and I was walking up the porch. He comes running out. He goes, "Look, it flies!" And threw it. And I like dived off the porch to try to catch it. He goes, and it sailed for just pretty good for a second, and then right into the sidewalk and shattered. And then he looked at me and took off running down the street. I said, "I know where you live. You got to come home sometime."
You know, it's funny because like with Colin staying with us at one point and Ray and Gene, I just don't remember like the Christmases when they were around.
Oh, I've got pictures. I've got pictures of Gene. I don't have anything of Ray, and I don't have.
I
I
mean, I
don't think
remember
we
when
have any of
Roger.
when Colin and
I
Uncle
remember when
Roger.
Roger was staying with us and stuff. I remember that one because that was, of course, we got the NES and stuff.
Yeah.
But
That was when we were working road construction together, doing the survey work.
but this is gonna like the second year that I'm not going to be able to have my grandparents and stuff, and it's one of the things that's like once Grandpa passed and stuff, and we stopped going, and once y'all moved, we stopped going over to their house for Christmas and stuff.
Oh, they started. Sometimes they weren't even home.
No,
started
they would
going
come over to
visit.
our house and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things that takes a little adjusting to as you get older, right? It's like once everyone's trying to figure out when does that paradigm shift happen, right? At some point, either because somebody's passed away or somebody's moved away, or just something has changed about the overall family dynamic, and then it kind of turns into, well, do we still go over to their house? Do we still do this? Do we change it to here? Like at some point, my parents started hosting Christmas, right? And then it kind of turned into that. And it's definitely one of those things that, yeah, but it's at the same time a great chance to, establish those new, habits, right? Those new traditions, which just kind of comes with time, right? Eventually somebody's got to start that new tradition, that new setup for the next set of kids to get used to, the next ones to get situated in. So, I mean,
it's usually like a matriarchal hierarchy. It'll be a grandmother or a mother. Then sometimes it's a patriarchal, and like in my case, with
Gene.
being a single father. Well, Gene had Debbie.
Well, I know.
But then Gene wanted to kind of bring on everybody back, and so Christmas dinner was at Gene's house every year. But then we would have Christmas dinner at Gene's. We'd have Christmas dinner at Grandma and Grandpa's. Then we'd have Christmas dinner at our house. And then when y'all became teenagers, it seemed like every Christmas the door would knock and I'd have a house full of teenage kids
eating our
all
food,
eating all of my food.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
your dressing. Yeah.
Well, I would say too is like, so what was it like for you guys, for Christmas? What was the ritual, as far as like waking up in the morning and, what was the process usually going on that day? If you can remember.
For me, I don't remember anything of when I was like before I was 6, because that was all with Grandma and Grandpa in New Orleans. The first Christmas at Grandma's house here, Grandma Wheelan's, I remember we would try to shake the presents and see what we got. Try to figure out what presents were there so we could tell which ones were from Santa. And then we would Christmas Eve steal one. All three of us boys, we steal one and get out of the house with them, go somewhere and open them and look, and go, hey, look what we got. Rewrap them, which was we rewrapped them horribly, and then snuck them back in the house and put them back under the tree. And Grandma knew. She was like, because we were not really good at wrapping presents back then, but yeah, and so I got caught by my dad one day. He was out doing something in the shed as I was sneaking by him, and he's like, "Where were you going?" "What? I'm not going anywhere." "What you doing outside?" "What's that you got behind your back?" I went, "What?" He goes, "The other hand." "This one?" He goes, "Turn around." So I turned around and moved it in front of me so he saw my back, and then went like this. And he goes, "Boy, get over here." And he walked in and he goes, "Get that back in the house and don't let Grandma or your mama know that you snuck that out." Because we had a horse field behind us and they had a big barn. And if we could get across the field, which was, during Christmas time was the grass would get high during the end of the summer. And then there wouldn't even be any horses out there for a while. So we just go and play in the barn, in the lofts and stuff. And that was our little hideaway away from all the parents and adults. The only thing I hated was I liked having it as our personal little place. And then each one of my brothers kept bringing new people and, "Hey, come here and show." And then it was like always, you'd walk in and it'd be crowded with kids. Nobody keeps a secret.
No,
Not at all.
Yeah, no. For us, I was always the first one awake. Man, I was awake as early as possibly could, and early years, whenever I was roomed with my brother, I would sneak down the hall before waking up anybody, and I would peek around the corner. Because for us, Santa didn't wrap our presents. The Santa presents were out there waiting, right, already. So turn the corner, kind of peek in there, see what's sitting out. And then I would walk back and I would tell my siblings, "This is what Santa got you," just completely ruining it from them, but I didn't care. I already knew. And then we would go wake the parents up, go in there, start, first we'd enjoy the Santa present, then we'd start opening everything else and getting through it. The one thing that I had to get Santa to learn eventually, though, was I didn't like it whenever he made my Lego sets for me. Like whenever I was,
That's not fun.
I very distinctly remember when I was 5, I got the giant Lego like flagship pirate ship thing, and that one didn't get built for me. And so just as 5, I spent all Christmas morning piecing that sumbitch together. And for some reason, like Santa after that point was like, "Oh, he likes Legos, right?" And so there was multiple times where I would come out and I turn around the corner and I could see the Lego set sitting there already pre-built. And I'm like, "No, we ain't having this. I want to put that thing together myself." And so it was like one Christmas I can think of where it was a submarine that was already pre-built together. But after that, Santa kind of learned, yeah, I'm just going to leave the box out, and the box setting out is going to be good enough. And then he'll spend the morning, right, piecing it together, putting it together. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, right? Just wake up, run out there, take a peek, go get the siblings up, go get the parents up, and then go have at it while the parents are strangely a little extra tired for some reason.
Yeah, it was, for us, it was like Amber was usually the one that was always up first. She was always so excited. It was like, couldn't sleep. I know that, when I was younger, I had that same instance where I was like, I'm so excited. I can't wait. Is he come? And eventually we'd finally pass out and everything. But every time it would always be Amber waking me up. "Let's get Dad up because I see presents. He came. And then,
yeah, at like 3:00 in the morning and 4:00 in the morning.
yeah.
I remember telling y'all to go back to bed, or Santa's going to come take everything he delivered.
Yeah.
But I always used to get mad at Santa because he brought you these things that had all these complicated stickers. And then I'd spend like half of Christmas Day fixing them. I was like, man, he's got elves. Why can't he put their butt to work putting all these stickers on?
I wonder that myself. I mean, it seems that he's doing that for Edward too. But
I think there's a little sadistic part to Santa Claus.
Of course, maybe it's because our family has a little bit more complex wants and stuff as far as our toy demands. So, there's a little bit more process to it instead of just like, hey, here's this. But no, we would get up, we'd have breakfast. I know that you would be like, all right, let's get dressed, blah, blah. And then all right, you'd finally come in after having a cup of coffee and be like, all right, go for it.
But it always was like, I couldn't take pictures because one of you would be in a t-shirt and underwear or, and you're like, oh, that'll be great for the family album.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Go get dressed so we can take some pictures.
What, David?
I said no. Those are the pictures that you do take because that's the blackmail photos.
Those are the blackmail photos.
I got a few.
The funny thing is like there's one. I think it was like when I was like 12, 13. I'm like sitting here with my underwear and a shirt. And I'm like,
yeah, he had a nice
like,
pullover button-up shirt, but just underwear. And he kept bending over as I was about to take a picture, because I'd always try to take a picture of what he got and then what Ember got. And every time I went to take a picture of Ember, he'd be behind her bending over. And I'm like, boy, get out of the way.
So what you're saying is you set the the Zoom trend right beforehand.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Business up top. Forget it
Yeah.
down below.
He was doing it long before that it became a thing.
Well, it's also the whole thing of like, you get those photos back from the pharmacy or whoever the people that are processing the photos for you, and it's like, well, let me cut this part off here. So it's like we're already cropping it like Photoshop. But yeah, usually we would do that, and then by noon we would go to my grandparents and have our other Christmas with my mom when she would come over, my aunts and my grandparents, and then we would have Christmas lunch.
Yeah.
And then we would head over to Gene's or Mike's because it was both either or. And
Mike seldomly did it, mostly Gene, but yeah, we did a few times.
Well, I just remember there's those times where Papa was like, "You want some eggnog?" And it's the
90% whiskey
with
10% nog.
And I remember
he'd hand it to you and you'd go, and before you could even put it up to your mouth, you're like, whoa. You go, put hair on your chest, boy. And then he tried to get Ember to take some, and I'm like waiting for it. And she goes, Papa, I don't like it like this. And he was like, drink it, put hair in your chest. And I was like, she doesn't want hair on her chest.
No. This isn't Willow, it's not Blackroot. But no, I just remember that one time that he handed her that and she's like, oh, this is really good. And you're like, nope.
Oh yeah. As she got older, she was like, I like that. No.
That's one Christmas, about Christmas traditions, right? That's one thing that we never had in my house. Not eggnog, not alcoholic eggnog, nothing ever. The first time I tried eggnog was maybe 6 years ago when a buddy of mine came by and decided to mix it with rum, and it was awful. And for some reason, my son has had eggnog somewhere, and he swears it tastes exactly like as if a sugar cookie was melted down into milk, and that's what eggnog tastes like. And I'm like, did he just mix way too much rum in this eggnog? Because I've never heard it described like that, but that he swears that's how he remembers it tasting. So I'm half
make
tempted.
it different,
Huh?
There's vanilla. Some people put cinnamon. There's all kinds of eggnog.
Yeah.
It just depends on who's making it and what the recipe is.
Then this might be the year that we finally break down and go out and get some, just so I can finally have in my mind an untainted version of this
Southern Comfort.
Southern drink.
That's what I got in my fridge right now. The Southern
Eggnog.
Comfort eggnog.
That's what you need to get. And if you're gonna mix it with alcohol, you get Bailey's. That is the only way to go.
Irish cream.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
It works perfect.
What's funny is that
I throw Jameson's in mine.
What'd you say?
I throw Jameson's in mine.
Whatever gets the job done, right? That's where it matters most. But
as long as you can light it on fire and it becomes like scrambled eggs for you, that's perfect.
There you go. Yeah, because Crumble Cookie right now is running with an eggnog cookie, and I'm like, okay, maybe
I don't know if I'd like an eggnog cookie.
I'll try it.
If you're gonna get something non-eggnog drink, eggnog flavor, look for the ice cream. That'll be the closest.
Yeah.
We did see that when we were out shopping the other day. Look down, and again, it's like it's the only time of year that it populates everywhere. And I keep seeing it, and all I can think of is the one time that I tried it, and it was god awful. So
It's because it was had whiskey in there. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't go well.
It's funny. It's like buttermilk. You know, when I was a kid, they told me I liked buttermilk. But I remember at a certain point, like maybe 9 or 10, somebody handed me some and I drank it and was like, I think it's spoiled. And my dad was like, boy, that ain't spoiled. That's buttermilk. And I was like, ooh, I don't like buttermilk. He used to drink it. I don't even drink it anymore. It's funny, our tastes change. Because I remember not liking mushrooms, and now I love mushrooms. I've loved them since I was a kid. You know, I hated vegetables. Man, Brussels sprouts, asparagus. If it was green, I didn't want to eat it. And now I love that stuff.
So I've come around on the vegetables. Mushrooms, I can't quite get to. It's something with the texture. Still doesn't. I can't quite do it. But I'm fine. Y'all can have all the fungus. Y'all have all the
Hey.
fungus. I don't need any of it.
You know, unless
You know,
it's
if-
like cream mushroom soup used to make green bean casserole, that's about the extent of my mushroom
I
intake.
used to use cream. I mean, that is the greatest additive. I used it when I used to make stroganoff or beef tips. The can of Campbell's mushroom soup, man. That's a
Tuna
special
casserole.
ingredient. Well, and casserole too. Yeah.
It's one of the ingredients for us with tuna casserole.
I've never tried it in tuna casserole.
Just mushroom soup, tuna, and Velveeta cheese.
Mm.
That's our sauce.
I remember I used to make a tuna salad, but it was like macaroni salad with tuna, and then chop up apples in it. And then one of the ladies at work was like, you know, we do it with avocado. So I did it with avocado one time, and that was really good too. I was surprised it was that good.
Well, yeah, the definitely the type of tuna salad you would make was very similar to chicken salad.
Yeah.
You know, so you could have just replaced the tuna with chicken, and you've been fine for people who don't like tuna.
Yes.
But yeah, I just remember like those times when we would be at Gene's and stuff, and he would be showing off his computer playing Doom, and right after Thanksgiving dinner. But
No,
remember-
not just Doom. When he discovered Elder Scroll, was that what it was? Or
oh yeah, later on, yeah,
later on, that was it.
Whirlwind and what was the other one? Well, yeah, even Skyrim. You know,
Skyrim. Yeah. That's the other one.
No, I don't have, ever since we moved up here, Christmas is kind of, even with, having Julie and the kids and stuff like that, it just, we had so little family, and for a long time we got excluded from all family activities. Because Julie's parents were divorced. We would go over to her mom's for a little while, and I would go up to my grandmother's, but that was it. I mean, the bigger families didn't invite us to the gatherings
oh wow,
for whatever reason. We got excluded from a lot of stuff for ages, and so we got just kind of. It got to the point where even the kids are like, why do we bother? We just give each other the gifts and we eat food and we'll just go about have a day. And that's what we started doing. It's really sad, but that's just, like I said, this year, the grandbaby, it's Julie's first Christmas without her mom. So we're having to navigate that. But at the same time, we've got the grandbaby.
mm-hmm.
So
That was rough.
It's creating a really delicate balance for her, and she's doing well with it, but she's been like, okay, we're gonna go look for stuff for the baby, and we got tons of stuff for the baby because that's where her brain is right now. And I'm like, hey, I'm good with it.
No, and having little ones really bring out that Christmas feeling. And when your kids get older, they're out the door, they're going everywhere and doing their own thing, and it gets harder and harder to buy them stuff. So that's that little window, that special time.
Yeah. Now it's gift cards.
Yeah.
All the kids, gift cards. Here you go. Steam card. Okay, here. Amazon card here. You need the credit card to put something on your game account here, But now we have grandbaby, and so we have piles of stuff all over the place. Some of the stuff is for like a year out. But
and the trick is that, like, if you have a child who gets a lot from a lot of the different family members, to separate it out so that let them open it and then let them pick the ones that they're going to play with and put the others up. And then later on in the year, you pull those, put them away for a little bit and take out something new for them, because if they've got so much, it just ends up all over the place, broken. And you end up, go clean your room, But my first, the year we lost my mom, that was rough. And my dad was so removed from having a Christmas, and I was so determined to make sure we had a good Christmas, that he was like, you know what? He came home day before Christmas Eve. He goes, pack some stuff, and we are like, where are we going? Going down to Brownsville. And then we drove all the way down to Brownsville so he could go fishing on Christmas. And I remember it was this cold front came through, and it was unusual because it was like 25, 30. And I remember, wow, this is usually warm when we're down here. And he went across with across the border with some of his buds off Captain Murphy's boat, left me and my brothers at the hotel. And so I got them to bed, and then I went out and sat on the steps to the hotel room. And it was so cold, in the clouds formed a crystal circle, ice crystals around the moon. And I remember just staring at that and just like, wow, it's really beautiful. And it was just so quiet because there's just no sound. Nobody was talking. And then all of a sudden, off in the distance, there's somebody turns on this radio playing soft Christmas music. And I just sat there and contemplated the universe, listening to Christmas music by myself. But I remember telling myself that would be the last type of Christmas that we ever had. Anybody that was in my life was ever going to have like that. But it was something about the peacefulness that helped me come to terms with, losing my mom. Sometimes we don't get what we want, we get what we need. And that's, I guess, what I needed at that time.
I remember, when Pawpaw passed, it was hard, because I think we tried to do things together as a family, and even at Jeans, it was different. You really felt his presence gone, because he was such a big staple in the family. And then I know that it was one of those things where, like, we would always like joke about the cooking that was going on at Jean's house and how it wasn't flavored. So we'd have to bring spices and salts and peppers to try to make it taste better. I'm sorry, Dad. I had to. But
I remember he was like, I remember that one Christmas, Miss Anderhan was like, I really made some good dressing for you this time. And he was like, we'll see. And he should go ahead, put a big old plop of it. And everybody stopped eating and turned and looked at my dad. And my dad put a big old spoon, put it in his mouth, and then immediately starts grabbing salt, pepper, gravy, and just
smothers it,
spicing it up for himself. And Miss Anderson looked just so dejected. And he goes, next Christmas, I'll teach you how to make dressing. I was like, Dad, no, don't say that.
Well, Miss Hannon's great. I miss her.
Oh, I loved her.
Yeah.
And I still do. I missed the fact that she wasn't at the wedding when we went.
Yeah.
It's just their idea, my family, we spiced it. Most people cook it so that you can add whatever seasoning you want. My dad was like, I'm making it for me to eat. And if y'all enjoy it, good. If you don't, well, it's more for me.
That's one.
And I remember one Thanksgiving, he decided, I'm gonna put some jalapenos in this. Good Lord, that was hot. Everybody was like, oh, this looks really good. Mouthful, and we're like, water, milk, something. Our throats just went, because he in our backyard in San Antonio was a fence. And it's where all my rabbit cages used to be when I was in ag. I raised rabbits. So once we got rid of the rabbits, he was like, well, I'm just going to plant all kinds of pepper trees down this fence. And because they were super fertilized over there, these pepper plants grew to be humongous. And, we had cayenne, chili patines, you name them, they were out there. The banana peppers were huge and sweet too. I loved plucking them. Gene, when he was little, he would go out and just sit there with a glass of milk on the dirt, plucking them and eating them off the bush. And then my dad would come home and want to pluck some. He'd go, where'd all my peppers go? Gene would get up and walk out of the room. Way to go. That's not a hint. And he'd look at us and we go, Dad, we like them, but we're not the pepper eaters. That's you and that's Gene. So when you ask, and then Roger, when he came to visit, it was just funny watching him sit at a table eating cheese, sausage, and peppers, and all three of them would just be sweating and pouring off their face, and you hear them doing this sucking sound, in their mouth, and you're like, why are they? I'd look at my brother and Mike, why are they torturing themselves like that? He's like, I don't know, and he'd walk off, and they just enjoy it. It just looked like the most painful thing in the world to me. I like savory food. I don't like it so hot you can't taste anything anymore.
I mean, that's the balance, right? That everybody always talks about is, a lot of people, all they go for is the heat, but a lot of the people that really appreciate spicy food, even if it's that hot, right? They always say, well, it's got to have a good flavor to it. Like, the wife is the one who's all about as hot as she can get it, but there still needs to be a flavor there. My brother found this like Thai or Indian place. I forget where it was, going up just outside of downtown, coming from 45 South. I want to say it was within the Loop. I don't remember. I only ever went there with him one time, and he would go in, and he had found this place and been there enough that the guy knew him, and he knew exactly the way he knew exactly what my brother wanted, brought it out, and exactly what you're describing, right? He's sitting there eating it. His whole, he's ginger, right? So every little bit of complexion change immediately floods his entire body. And so he's sitting there as red as his hair, right? Just shoveling this food in his mouth, and he's just sweating, and he's sitting there talking about how, the next day his, other end is going to look rather rough and all this stuff. And I'm just like, what is going on, man? Why are you doing this? And he's just sitting there, crying. He's like, it's just so good. I'm like, yeah, but can't you get the flavor without all that heat? Like, there's got to be a way, right? But
So there used to be a Thai place. I think there's Thai right there by the Pierce Elevated when you would get going into downtown. And we used to go there for lunch sometimes from work. And it was hot, but you could get mildly spicy.
Yeah.
And but there were a lot of people who would go eat lunch with us, especially when the boss is paying, and then go back to work. And by 3 or 4, they're all in the bathroom. Where's everybody?
Burn right through you.
Now, you said that, unfortunately, we used to have to do all the clothes ourselves, all the washing. And my dad would take us to the wash tier, and me and my brothers would take up a whole section and wash all of our clothes at once, and we'd go home. And unfortunately, neither one of my brothers would fold my dad's underwear. That fell to me. And they're big. Well, one day, him and my brother had gone off on one of their benders with the hot stuff. And I was taking all the underwear out, and I'd throw them theirs, and I'd put mine over so I could fold it. And I pulled it out, and I'm not, kid you not, there was a scorched hole in his rear end of that underwear that looked like he fired a torpedo out of it. And it wasn't just, it was burnt. It was that crispy. And I was like, I'm going to throw these away. And then I went back and got them. I was like, "Ugh, should I keep them? Because these are legendary. And then my brothers are like, just throw it away. Just throw it away. And I was like, how hot do you have to have? Does it have to be that you blow fire out your behind?
That is impressive.
I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just like I don't get that crazy with it, but I see the older people, like, my mother-in-law, she is the pinnacle of the meme of, white people can't handle spicy food, right? Like the person with the mayonnaise, and she's like, and it's like, man, this is too spicy, or like or the Teen Titans episode, right, where Robin's like a little pinch of salt, and he's like, no, it's too spicy, it's horrible, I can't handle it. And then he finds the avocados, right, and turns into the giant avocado. But I worry about getting to that point. I'm like, no, please, Lord, don't. I don't want to get to a point where I'm like, you know what? I can't have the pico de gallo from this Mexican restaurant because it's too spicy. Like the day I say that cilantro is too spicy for me, I've told the wife, I'm like, just kill me. Just put me out of my misery. It's not worth it anymore. I'm done.
You should be able to build up a tolerance, man. I mean, I was the one type that would sit there with my Uncle Gene with a jar of jalapenos with a glass of water, just sitting there eating them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
For me,
Right
it
now,
was
I'm
just, I just
fine.
wanted to sprinkle it. I always cut my seeds off the jalapenos because I like the flavor. I just didn't want to bite into one of those.
The seed.
And then I remember one time my brother thought it would be funny, and he shoved it's not a jalapeno, it's not a cayenne, it's another, but it looks similar to a cayenne, and it was in the apple, and he threw one to me, and he was eating one, and I was like, he goes, what's the matter, big brother? And I was like, apple's kind of spicy. He goes, really? It's spicy? He goes, you can't handle an apple? And I'm like, and I'm trying to eat it and not look like a wuss to my little brother. And I look down, and you could see the pepper in it. And he starts laughing, and he's running off. Man, and I remember I was chasing through the house, and I hummed the apple at him. And my brother Roger walked in the house, and it beamed Roger right in the head. And so then I'm running from Roger because he doesn't understand. He's like, what'd you throw an apple at me for? And my big brother's like, and he's like thumping as he runs. It would be like having a rancor chasing you through the house. Boom, boom, boom. And then I ran out the back door, ran around the side of the house, and jumped the fence and thought, I got away. He had turned around and ran out and went through the front and was waiting on the porch. And as I ran by him, he just reached down, picked me up, and pulled me onto the porch with him. He goes, "You can explain to me why you hit me with an apple?" I said, "It was Gene's fault."
I can just
He's like,
imagine
"Why
that
is it-
story with
why-
the Benny
why
Hill.
why is it Gene's fault? And so I explained it to him, and he was like, "All right, come on, we'll go to the store and get something to drink." Gene's like, "Why can't I go?" And he goes, "Because you put a pepper in your brother's apple. That's why." Man, I miss my big brother, man, so much. Just the adventures. He was that ultimate big brother, Terry was more into girls, his motorcycle. I'm gonna go off and hey, what's going on? Come in and mess with you for a minute, and then go hop on the bike and take off until he broke his leg, and then he was a captured audience, and we tortured the hell out of him. But Roger was, man, just let's go. He took us one night. He come over and got us. We went to go see King Kong, and he decided to, while on the freeway in San Antonio, spin his Mustang too. And we're like doing this going down the freeway, and we're like, ah! And then he went right off the exit as it whipped back around. And he was like, "Don't tell Dad I did that." And we were like, "Yeah." He's that ultimate big brother.
So
My daughter had wrapped around his finger, her finger.
Mhm.
He'd do anything for her, including probably kill me. How much money is it worth? Yeah, I'll take care of it.
The problem is that she would be taking your money out of the couch and then
Yes.
collecting it for 10 years. So it was like your money paying for your death.
The only thing is when he get my cat drunk.
Oh yeah,
I used-
or
Yeah. Yeah.
Witchy
that-
and
yeah.
Smoke.
Yeah.
He did it both.
Laying in the bed, hearing my cat come walking down the hall. Oh, poof, oh, poof. It's walking sideways to the wall, redirecting, go to the wall, then come in and sit at the foot of the bed, just oh, and we're looking over. What's the matter with you? And he's just like, I was like, Roger, did you get my cat drunk? Yeah, he wanted it.
But it's Christmas has always been one of those important months for us. I mean, this December has been one of those important months. The holiday itself, Christmas, has been equally
October, Halloween.
Yep.
My favorite. Thanksgiving is iffy, but Halloween, Christmas, and New Year's because we do the fireworks
Mhm.
wherever we were. We do some kind of big fireworks thing, including going to a park where somebody actually pops a firework in the bag, and I try to get it out, and then it goes off in my hand. So we have to drive to McDonald's and get a cup of ice, and the lady's like looking at me because my fingers in the center are all melted together. That was me, you, Ember, Colin, Tony, and I don't remember who else.
It was either Gene
I think
or
Gene was there.
Kenny Jackson.
Oh, it might have been. No, I think maybe it was both. Because we went off Blackhawk and we went to that field over by that one school, and we're popping the fireworks.
That would have been the same weekend where the smoke bomb incident happened.
Yeah, that was later though. That was our leftover fireworks. Or was it before? I think.
No, it was the firework. The smoke bomb was the same weekend that we went to the
Right,
field, because
but I
that
meant-
weekend was the one where the chaser went rogue and went at Vinny, and I jumped in the way and he hit me in the eye.
Oh, the chaser.
That was the
Yeah.
same weekend. That was all
Yeah,
the
I
same.
remember
weekend.
that. So those three holidays,
Yeah.
we did something. It was always something special.
I remember, I know that one of the things I remember is being at Uncle Mike's when he had that apartment over there off of Scarsdale area and playing G.I. Joes with him. And his Christmas tree in the back. And I had my, this would have been like 90 or 91, maybe 92.
That was when he was living
still
with
with-
Audra.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Still living with Angel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
Angel.
I remember just that's one of the things I remember that one Christmas was just like getting to spend time with him, because I never really remember a lot of times where he would get down and play with us, like me and Ember, like that. I know Gene did it a lot, but Mike.
And then
was,
we used to, and then like when they moved up to Katy, we'd all go out and play baseball or something afterwards.
oh yeah. Later on, yeah. Once Dallas was born, and he was. I remember going to his house, all the time and stuff, and we would sit there and talk, and then I remember was it Tyler's birthday or was it Christmas that we got? No, I think it was his birthday. We got him that N64, and then Dallas got one, and I remember we'd come over there to Mike's and stuff, and he'd be talking about some new game he picked up.
Yeah, I just wish my brothers had figured out that I wasn't all about Star Wars.
That was me.
Yeah, I love Star Wars. Don't get me wrong, but there's only so many Star Wars Monopoly, Star Wars Stratego, or whatever. Star Wars. What was the other one? Where where they ask you questions and you.
Trivial Pursuit.
Trivial Pursuit is like 4 years in a row. It was Star Wars game, and I was like, oh yay.
Well, you got the Star Wars, the Luke Skywalker's TV remote, the universal remote.
Yeah, I still have that. It was a lightsaber that was a remote control. It was awesome. It doesn't work with any of the new TVs anymore. It just sits in my room. But it was actually constructed to look just like the lightsaber. So
yeah,
And it did this. It did the whole ET sound when you hit the buttons. So it kind of was like remember when James Bond in Moonraker, when he went up to the door and he heard it was do 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 do. And I remember playing with the remote trying to get it to make that sound, figure out what combination would do it. I love that thing. I still got the box for it and the instructions and everything. It's just sitting in my room.
So do y'all have a favorite toy you got or game or whatever? Favorite Christmas present?
Mine was Amigo Tarzan. At some point, got dropped into a pig pen, and the pig immediately ate the head off of it. And then 30 years later, Randy found me another one.
It used to crack me up. Remember the Migos, like Conan? You had one that didn't have any clothes, that
Yes.
knitted skin color clothing like on that Tarzan.
Yeah.
And so it was the flesh one, and then you had all the ones like before that had that flesh colored clothing stocking thing over it. And I was like, what is this supposed to cover the skin?
Yeah.
You know? And then the Planet of the Ape ones too, man.
And then half of them were repurposed. So you had Klingons that were superheroes. Good stuff.
Yeah, they don't, for all the new stuff and all the new toys, some of the old ones still, we played the crud out of them.
Yeah.
I remember running zip lines between the trees with the Migos and having them hold on because the hands were like circular and you could just let them slide down the thing. And then Herman, which was my black dachshund, decided that it would be fun to try to get to him before I could as it went to the other tree. And he'd be he'd sit on the porch and watch me. And the minute I let it go, he'd take off and try to get it before I could get to it. So I lost a few Migos because he was a fast little dog.
Well, it's chew toy time.
Yeah, he did a number on Captain Kirk. But I think one of my most memorable was one Christmas we walked in and we all had new bikes. And we were like, oh yeah. And then we took them outside and, trying to learn how to ride because most, me and my cousin had never had a bike until then. But my dad was like, hey, where y'all going? We go out and ride the bikes. And he's like, come back here. I think y'all missed something. I could have swore Santa said he brought something else. And we looked through the house and everywhere and he was following us. He goes, oh, I go look in the closet by the door where everybody hung their coats and stuff. We opened it and there were Dallas Cowboy full football outfits, pads, you name it, helmets, the whole gear. So what do me and Mike do? We run to the room, we get all dressed up, put the pads on and everything, put the helmet on, run out and get on our bikes. And we're riding through the neighborhood dressed up like Dallas Cowboy football players. And I kept trying to get him, you know what we could do? That we look like knights. We could joust. Let's go get some brooms. He's like, no. Well, we got pads. We got helmets. We'd be okay. Now I hear that voice from, what's his name from Christmas Story. You'll put your eye out.
Well, I'd been like, Cowboys, that team sucks. Wait, no, I don't even like sports, but
hey, back then they were the real America's team. That was when Roger Staubach was the quarterback and
Tom Landry.
Tom Landry was the coach. Yeah, I liked the Rams, but Cowboys were my second back then.
So is that your favorite thing you got, or you?
Just that it's one of the most memorable because we were riding, all the kids were running. Oh, that looks so cool and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of the commercial for the Liberty Mutual What did you get? I got the insurance that you can fix to however you need it. And what did you get, Billy? I got a bike.
David.
I mean, like I said, the one that I always remember for Christmas is, like I said, that Lego pirate ship that I got when I was a little kid, because I played the crap out of that. Like, it eventually stopped being a pirate ship because I started getting more, like, once I got that sub and more of the like old alien type Lego started coming out, I converted the whole thing into a spaceship and all that, and just started doing a bunch of crazy stuff with it. So I mean, it was just a handful of Lego sets really is what stood out the most. You would think that, having gone without any kind of game system for ever, I would remember better whenever we finally got the N64 with Majora's Mask, but I honestly don't remember getting it as much as playing it, so I can't really put that one on there. So yeah, I mean, really, it was the main thing I remember getting at Christmas time were those big epic Lego sets, right? That I would
That's
spend all
funny
over.
that you bring up games because we didn't have any of that stuff when I was young.
No,
There's no
'cause-
game systems. You got board games and stuff like that.
Well, see, and with us, I didn't start getting additional board games until I started buying them myself, because at the house we already had everything, right? We had, like, my grandparents had Battleship and Stratego. We had like Candyland and like Parcheesi, Yahtzee, all that kind of stuff in our house, and that was just kind of what we played with, right? I didn't realize that there was all these other crazy games that existed out there. The one board game that was different from all the others that I remember playing the crap out of, but I believe I got it for a birthday present one year, was called Crossbows and Catapults, I think.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was a whole setup where you had a little soldiers,
The army,
you had this
and
one
you'd
little
shoot.
castle that the gate for it was like a button that would pop off the top, and every single one of them were catapults. And then you had a little crossbow, and you set everything up. You'd have these little stone blocks that would use to try and create barriers. And the whole idea of the game was I just have to knock down everybody else's stuff. And it just devolved eventually to me and my brother stacking all the blocks up in different configurations in front of the tower, and then hiding all of our guys behind the tower so that we had to like angle the shots just right to arc it over the castle and try and like almost backspin it into the guys behind it and knock everybody down. But yeah, that was the extent of really out there board gaming that we ever had. Yeah, I tell you that.
I did get that one. I got that one for Christmas one year.
Yeah.
But so for me,
We used,
oh, go
I
ahead.
was going to say, on that same, we didn't have stuff like that, but we had the army men and the German soldiers and the green army men, or you could get the Civil War and the red and the gray, or you got the cowboys and the Indians, and then you got your Lincoln logs and stuff, and you could build forts and stuff with that. And I remember we would hoard our fireworks from the 4th, and then hold these massive war. We had this one area of the yard where it was just dirt. Grass would never grow there, and it was great. We dig trenches and put up, depending on what we were playing, if Cowboys and Indians, we'd put up these little fake tents made out of paper and the popsicle sticks and stuff, and we would go all out, and then we'd take the firework and throw them. One of us would get on one side and throw them and then blow up the figures. And I remember one time I tied one to one of my soldiers and lit it and threw it up so the parachute would, and then it was like he was hit by shrapnel, boom, and we ran over to try to find him, and his arm was gone, his leg was melted. It was, and my dad would just sit out on the porch with my grandmother, and those boys aren't right,
See, when it came to Army Men, right? I played a little bit with Army Men over at my grandfather's house now and then. But after Toy Story came out, we got our hands on the actual Toy Story specific, right? I mean, they're all the same Army Men setup, right? But these were, I don't remember if they came in like McDonald's, kids meals, or if we actually bought them from somewhere. But
when Toy Story came out, they came out in a bucket. because I
Yes.
bought it for one of the kids. I don't remember which
Yeah.
one, and
It
it
would've
was
been
a
Amber.
bucket full of.
Oh no,
So-
it was Logan.
Oh yeah, it was Logan.
That was Logan.
So yeah, so when that came out, right, we gathered those and we would hide them in the tree and play with them and that stuff. And actually, you know what? I completely forgot. There is one Christmas present that that is probably the most important in all that I I didn't think about it, but we did find out the day either before or after Christmas that the eldest was on the way. That was an interesting day. It wasn't exactly something that was planned on. It was just kind of a certain things had lined up certain ways, certain things hadn't happened, and we're like, you know what? Hey babe, you probably need to like run over to a Walgreens or something and see if there's one open and get one of those tests and see what's going on. And yeah, found that out and then got to go break that to the parents, which was mixed reaction and all the rest of that goodness. So yeah, that was, I forgot. He was technically a not
Christmas
the
present?
actual present, but the news of it
Yeah.
came out again. It was either Christmas Eve right before or it was the day after Christmas. I'm a little muddy on exactly which side it was because that whole time kind of turned into a blur right after that, right? It was like all of a sudden I went from being a movie projectionist to I need to go find a real job. And then it was working 2 jobs for a little while in a warehouse and then still doing the projection stuff on the weekends and all the rest of that. So my memory's a little foggy for at least that first year
Initial
or 2.
year.
It was
Yeah.
somewhere around here.
So my I have 2 memorable things. One of them is the GI Joe Mobile Command Center, because I think that was one of the biggest like play sets I ever got. I mean, I did get the Technodrome eventually and stuff like that, but that was the one I had like the most memories of being able to play with that and
You
the
used to
different
kill
levels.
me, man. I improved upon Krang. What would you do? I drew all over him with a marker that was permanent.
Yeah, I did. I was doing custom figures back way before it was popular.
GI Joes, dissected GI Joes, which are amalgams of multiple characters, or
Mhm.
even from other toy lines.
Well, think of it this way. You have limited funds, for being able to pick up figures for yourself or special occasions and things. So it was like, well, I need a new character. So I don't really like this character. I don't really like this one too. Let's amalgam them into someone new. And
Well,
then the
then you would get
imagination would be,
Play-Doh. I remember like going and,
And build
having to
armor.
clean out the
Yeah.
toolbox. I mean, the toy box. Every
Mhm.
now and then it start to smell kind of funky. And you're like, okay, I don't know what's in there, but I'm going in. And you're pulling it out, and you'd find armor, what looked like rock soldiers he'd made Play-Doh armor that had gotten so hard that it
Yeah.
looked like they had turned to rock. And the food stuff used to freak me out. It was like,
that was when
why
I
is
was
there-
really young.
why is there a half-eaten sandwich in here? And it's petrified, so it's been in here a bit. I was like, I'm trying to reason that in my head. When I said clean your room, put your toys up, I think I miscommunicated somehow.
Amber and me would always like find we would stuff the closet with stuff. So we were the typical kids that you'd see in the TV shows or cartoons. It's like, clean your room. Everything's behind the closet door.
I used to love like going in and oh, it looks clean. Yeah, we cleaned it. Oh, let me check the closet. Oh, no, don't open the closet. Don't. Why don't you? Just don't open in it. Stuff would fall out, or go and get the broom and just sweeping out from under the bed where they shoved
Yes,
everything.
everything on the bed. Yeah.
Uh,
The other thing would be and I still have it, the Generation 2 tank Megatron. And I actually have the Optimus Prime. You got me Optimus Prime and Megatron that year.
Megatron, yep.
And
And then I ended up with him for a while because you didn't want him. And
yeah, I
then-
just was like, I didn't have the space and I wasn't as into it. And then
And I kept him. He was complete. He had all
he
his
still is
missiles,
complete.
everything.
He is
And
still
then when he
complete.
goes, Dad, I'd like to get that back now. Okay. And then
He's still complete, still in my shelf right now. has his little bitty missile pod light thing on the shoulder and his gun and all.
Does he still
all this was-
talk?
I need to replace the batteries in it. But
Another fond memory I have of Christmas was like the toys that you didn't want. So you would get together with your friends down the street and have like a swap meet.
mhm.
You know, hey, you want this? Yeah. Or what do you got? Oh, I'll take that. Okay. And then you go back home and you're playing with it, and you can see your parents going, where did he get that from? Did you get him that? No, I didn't. I thought you got him that. You know, you know. And then the terrible gifts, the clothing. Yeah. Oh, what is this? It's a big box. Yay. You open it. Oh, it's a shirt. It's pants. It's a belt. Oh, joy.
Great, Grandma got me underwear again.
You shake that box and you don't hear any clanking noises.
That's the last one you open. Let's put that one over there. At least we didn't get leopard print underwear. Okay. You know, that's your ultimate Christmas gift.
Or the big pink bunny outfit that
Or
your
the pink,
aunt
yeah.
made. No,
Yeah.
no, the sad thing is, it's like, even though in the situation with my mom, she didn't really do a whole lot for us for Christmas. We would go
No,
over
and the
there.
sad part was that it became hard for me because we had to split Christmas up. So she got y'all either Christmas Day and I got you Christmas Eve, where we'd switch. And then y'all would go over and have Christmas with the in-laws over there. And then y'all would come home crying. And I would have to put up with that because what they got you were the dollar store toys, and they got all this expensive stuff for the other kids, and y'all were feeling
Yeah, it's
like you weren't wanted. And when I tried to talk to her about it, she didn't want to hear it until years later, when she kind of figured out what was going on. But I just your sister would come home and she'd just be in tears, and I'd have to try to comfort her. I don't want to go back over there. But
well, because like the only gift that I remember getting from them that was something that there was some thought to it was the one Lego set, and then I got that blanket, the poncho blanket that I had for years, and that's what I buried smoke with. But it was degrading. You would go over there to go visit your mother and be there with her husband, and this was just like before the kids were born. Even when the kids were born, it was still kind of a little bit dicey. And you're like, okay, well, we got to go have Christmas party over at Tim's family, and you just feel like an outsider. Oh, hi, and it just seems very superficial. And then when they would just do the gift hangouts, it's like, oh, here you go, guys. And there was no thought process. There was nothing. And it showed that you weren't really like a part of the family. And that's how I felt. And Amber felt that way. And a child shouldn't have to go through that. You should be welcoming to a child or children that are, new additions to the family, just as much as you care about the other, because we weren't bad kids.
No. And, I would buy Christmas presents every year for your mom's kids and for her. When like I bought her jackets when they needed them and stuff. Let's move on to something a little bit more happier.
No.
I was gonna say, if you guys, another part of my favorite Christmases were the Christmas parties at work. You do the white elephant, and everybody is trying to get that one special gift, and you can see how cutthroat everybody is. And I remember, I'm gonna embarrass Ray. Ray ended up with a inflatable female doll in his present, and everybody was laughing, and they were thinking he was going to try to get rid of it. And so when the next person would go up, he would, and all this trading was gone. He was like, no, I'm trying to hide it. And we're like, Ray, don't you want to get rid of this thing? Oh, he goes, no. And then so one of the friends that were there was like, oh, watch this. So he went and switched, because when you get one, you can go take the next person's away and give them yours. And he took that from Ray. Ray spent the rest of that evening trying to get that thing back. And I was dying because I was like, I would have been happy to see that thing gone. I would not want to walk out of
Yeah.
there with that present at the end of the night. Um, and and then the Christmas parties were, I remember I won us a TV one time as a door prize, and that was right after our TV broke and we didn't have one, and it was like I can't afford a new one. I was gonna go try to buy one from a pawn shop, and all of a sudden we won a TV, and I was like, man, that was a great gift, and that was a blessing in disguise. I don't
I
know if you
remember
guys have any parties and stuff like Tales.
I have one back when I was working at Highport during summers and on and off for seasonal stuff. I'd work at floating jobs. Dad would, because he was running the chemical department and stuff. There was this guy whose name was Phil Houghton, and I ended up being his Secret Santa one year, and he wanted an Eagle CD. And I said, "All right, Dad, I got an idea." We took the Eagle CD, we wrapped it, and then I said, "I need the biggest container we've got." And they had the big cardboard shipping containers that the chemical stuff came in. And this thing would hold like, I don't know, like 600 gallons. Okay, it was a huge box. So we took it and we filled it with peanuts and scraps and everything like that. And I dropped that CD about 3/4 of the way in and loaded it up and wrapped it and put his name on it and put it behind the doors from the main building out to the factory. And, and everybody comes down and goes, "What's that?" And I said, "That's Phil's Christmas present." And Phil came out and goes, "You son of a bitch." and mind you, he was like 5'2", and this box stood like 6 feet. So he had to figure out how to get into it, and then was like dumpster diving trying to get in there to get it.
In with all the peanuts and stuff. That's that's like what used to crack me up was like you would set a limit, right? $25 for
Yeah.
the white elephant.
Mhm.
That way nobody, or preferably bringing something from your house instead of buying something.
Yeah.
I remember one guy brought an ashtray and it still smelled like cigarettes. And he beautifully wrapped gift, and somebody was like, "Oh, it sounds heavy." Open it. It was an old greenish looking ashtray. And one of the ladies got it, and she was like, "I hate cigarette smoke. It gives me a headache." And he was just grinning from here to here like a joker, laughing his butt off. That was when they decided, yeah, you know what, this year you can bring something old and give it away inside the White Elephant. I would find whatever the worst CD I had that I didn't like to listen to anymore, give that. But somebody would always buy something expensive, and that would be what everybody would chase for the whole night.
We only had like the Secret Santa stuff when I was in accounting at the time. And I remember like you would just get these gifts that were like, there's no thought process. I've been working with this team for years and they don't understand who I am. No, but it wasn't until like later that like we had like some other employees in the team that were like, they actually took consideration thinking about what to get somebody. But they were
Yeah.
okay.
For us, we've been to a couple. They're never adult, right? Just strictly adult. They're always with like kids. Like we have some friends that basically on Christmas Eve, their entire family gets together, and all the kids open presents, and then they go off into another room, and then all the adults get together, and that's when you do the white elephant gift. And I actually have a really nice extension cord that I got from one of those that I use. I'm actually using right now for the yard stuff. But work, it was always just like you show up, they give you like a couple tickets for drinks or whatever. They've got like fajitas or something sitting out, and then it was just kind of like wandering around. Every now and then they would call out people's names, and you go up and you get like a gift card to somewhere, but you're never guaranteed to win anything. This is actually the first year that we had a party. It was kind of a Christmas end of year celebration of, you know, 1,000,000 safe work hours on this particular project and all this stuff. And they were doing a raffle for a bunch of prizes. And I'm actually sitting in the one that I won. It's a very nice little
yeah.
chair. It's more for like a yard. It's more like a yard chair, but I've decided to move it up here since I'm sitting in this room fairly often and fairly frequently. So it's nice. It's the first time I can think of that I've ever won anything from a raffle or anything like that. So I cashed in my prize. I'm not winning the lottery anytime soon. Sadly, I missed my shot. I should have gone to that day instead of this, but I got a chair, so I can't complain too much, right? My back thanks me.
Well, thank you for bringing up a horrible memory. I
Well,
lost $300,000 because I didn't put one more quarter in.
Yeah,
I've
we
been
went.
playing this machine,
Uh,
was plopping three in. I knew it was going to pay off. I'd watched somebody setting at it for a good couple of hours, and then I was just like, you know, I got this feeling. So I'd go over and I'd play a couple of times. And then I was like, you know, I don't want to be stuck on this machine. I think I'm going to play one more time and I'm going to walk off. But instead of putting 3, I put in 2 and it hit. Alarm goes off, you know, everybody, money pours out into the thing. I won money.
yeah.
I just didn't win the big one because you had to, you know, play 3 quarters and I played 2, $300,000. Man, I was so angry and I wanted to walk out and leave, but we had chartered a bus and I was trapped there for the rest of the day.
Josh was laughing. He's like, this.
Oh,
He's like, you know, this is one of those things. You can definitely tell it's the you know, it's our luck. You know, anyone that's a part of our friends or family, it's like it's our luck never to hit it off.
I like to look at things as a learning experience, and that experience was if somebody asks you how many quarters did you put in, you say 3. If somebody asks you if you are a god,
Yeah.
you
yeah.
say yes.
No, but the good thing about, like, you know, whenever you get the secret Santa, the white elephant gift, it's something you can repurpose for somebody else that may like it.
Yes,
So,
yes.
you know, so
yeah,
less-
there's a weighted blanket making its way through people that we know that was a white elephant gift last year. Somebody got it and thought, oh, because I guess weighted blankets help certain people sleep better.
Yeah.
So they said, oh, I want that. And one person used it for a little while, so they didn't like it. And now it's just kind of making its way through everyone. And I don't need it. I'm good.
They didn't have to be white elephants back then. When I was a kid, it was fruitcake.
Wow.
There were fruitcakes that went through like 5 or 6 Christmases as family members passed it as a gift every Christmas to some poor sucker. And I remember one time just before it got thrown away, I was like, man, I wonder what that tastes like after being that old. I mean, that popped into my head. I was like, no, I don't think I can do it.
No, so you crack it open, and that's whenever you unleash The Last of Us, right? The fungal growth,
The fungal growth, yeah.
that thing, the spores have mutated. You break it open, and that's when the clickers come.
yeah.
But the sad part is it looked just like it did the first time when it was first handed out as a Fred. There was enough preservatives in there that I could have stayed young for, you know, half my life.
Well, that's why we're living a little bit longer in our
Because of
adulthood,
fruitcakes?
because of the preservatives in our body.
Yeah.
We're preserving
right.
ourselves just a little bit longer.
If y'all, so I guess the next step would be what's everybody still need to watch right before getting into the holiday. If y'all haven't seen it yet, Joe Coy has a new comedy special on Netflix, and man, I love Joe Coy. That dude is so damn funny. Oh God, he was I had the reference in my brain and then it just ran away. We're talking about food, talking about passing it down. It's gone. I'm not getting it back. But
Okay.
but it's fine. But I would say, right, so yeah, if y'all haven't taken a look at anything, it's not Christmas specific, but if you need a good comedy special to watch, Joe Coy is always a fun guy. to sit down and have entertain you. He's a funny dude. I enjoy.
I
him.
like the guy from. He's one of the guys on Comedy Central, The Daily Show. The Asian guy. He's always real derogative toward the host. He has two shows on Netflix, man, that are just hilarious, and I really enjoyed them. But in Christmas vein, I watched The Santa Claus. I wasn't sure if I was going to want to watch it, was going to like it. And it ended up in the end, they turned it around and it was really, really good. I just was predicting it was going to be another Disney thing where they take a viable franchise and, throw it in a blender, a frog in a blender, and just destroy it. But, it ended up being really enjoyable.
Yeah, we haven't finished it yet. We'll probably be doing that this week. And then we also need to knock out Jingle All the Way, because that's something that always needs to be watched around this time of year.
I watched it on Thanksgiving.
Put that
It was
cookie
on,
down.
so I watched it.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving? No, sir. That's Christmas. Come on now.
It was on. There was, I watched my football games and I was like laying there and I was like, I don't know what else to watch. Hey, look, Jingle All the Way. I'm going to watch it.
But so, then
Arnold.
Then of course there's the obligatory Die Hard at some point, but
And
before
Lethal
knock out
Weapon.
what is my favorite Christmas movie since I was very young, and that is A Muppet Christmas Carol, because I still contend it's one of the best iterations of that story that's ever been put to film.
There's the Netflix or the Amazon. Which one? They've got a brand new animated. One of those two has a brand new animated Scrooge, and it's really good. I was really surprised. I've seen them all, and after a while, you're like, show me something new. And it actually did a good job. I enjoyed it. I didn't fall asleep like I did with Black Adam. I didn't make it. I was like, I'll watch this during the day at some point later, but it just did not hold my attention. Put me right to sleep.
Fair enough.
But but there's another one. That Rambo was a Christmas movie.
The
Yes.
first one?
Yep. The very first Blood. Watch the police station and look at all the decorations around.
In the police station.
In
Yep.
the police station, there's Christmas decorations all over.
Well,
And that, I believe that came out before Lethal Weapon, didn't it?
yeah, I did.
So
Well, and then Edward Scissorhands is a Christmas movie.
yeah.
Not towards the end, but it is a Christmas movie. Gremlins.
Gremlins is a Christmas movie, yeah.
So
And then
I've only
I've
been
got
able to
here-
watch Scrooged. So I need
Scrooge,
to-
you know what's the sad part about the Bill Murray Scrooge is it comes on so many times throughout the
yeah.
year. It's not even worth watching at Christmas anymore because you see it, But and my favorite character is Bobcat Goldthwait in it, okay, I got one. What do you need to watch every Christmas? Song you have to hear at Christmas for you to finally feel Christmas.
Well, you went robotic there in the middle. What do you need? Say it again.
What one movie do you have to watch every Christmas, and what one song do you have to listen to every Christmas, or it just doesn't feel Christmas to you? I have mine, but I'd like to hear what y'all saw.
I don't know. For me, it would probably be Christmas Story with the movie. And the song would probably be Last Christmas by Wham.
By Wham.
Say what you will about George Michael. That man could deliver.
Hey, I love George Michael. Not as much as Mark did, but yeah.
But yeah,
Another jab at Mark. Love you, bud. Merry Christmas.
I hope you watch this, Mark. I can't really think of anything. I mean, Gremlins would probably be my main one. Watching that every year. And then song, probably the same one, George Michael, Last Christmas.
So For me, like I said, the one movie I love watching every year is always A Muppet Christmas Carol, and especially with the Ghost of Christmas Present, right? Where his big introduction of come in and know me better, man. Right? I
Man,
just
yeah.
whatever reason, ever since I was a kid, that line I've just always loved it. I the jovial nature of that spirit, the puppet that they used for him, all that stuff. He was such a cool character. And then to watch as he ages, right, as time goes along and turns into the old man by the end. Yeah, I love that scene. I love that bit from that movie. In terms of music, I think that the one of my favorite Christmas songs, which there's no lyrics to it, but I think it stems from Home Alone 2, is Carol of the Bells. I love Carol of the Bells. It's fantastic. I know that there is a version of it that has lyrics to it, but I'm used to the instrumental version of it where it's just the music side of it. And I love that song. It's great. So I can listen to that thing, various iterations of it on repeat all over the place, and I'm perfectly fine with it.
I have the Christmas gift, the one about the bird, the young girl who gives the bird to the baby Jesus because she had nothing. Man, I love that song. But I'm gonna do mine in reverse. My favorite song has to be Bing Crosby, and um, come on, I hate this. His name was right there, and I coughed, and it went right out of my head. Um, David Bowie, "Peace on Earth," and then "Little Drummer Boy," the duet they did. I
Yeah.
saw that when
Bing
it was
Crosby.
live on television. Yeah, Bing
Mhm.
Crosby, when I was a little kid, because I missed the Christmas specials from back in the day when I was young. You know, Christmas was full of cartoons and Christmas specials, and you name it. It was all over your television. It was everywhere you went. When you walked down the street, it was there. You had big giant windows with displays and trains and everything, and it was like, it really was like a Rockwell painting for a time when I was young. Kind of shifted away, became more commercialized and everything else, but um, I have to watch It's a Wonderful Life. It just reaffirms me for another year that nothing is ever as bad as you think it is, and that somebody's always watching over you, and you're not alone. Um, when my daughter was born, I was torn between naming her between the character from
Of
ElfQuest,
course.
and then Zuzu Petals, Zuzu. That actually rolled in my head for a little bit, and my wife was like, "No, no." I'm glad she didn't, because Ember Morgan Le Fay is a beautiful name, and it celebrated, one of my favorite characters, Ember, and the parallels between ElfQuest and me, their mom, Vince, and Suntop, and Ember were just too close. It was like they're watching our lives. It's just like people used to say when Vince was little, that I should sue what's his name for Calvin and Hobbes, because he did everything Calvin did before Calvin did it. Ray would look at it and go, "Do you realize somebody's watching you? This is your son out there." That was the way he was. But to get me back on track, yeah, It's a Wonderful Life. I have to watch that movie. The whole thing with the Scrooge, I really miss some of the points from the book, The Christmas Carol, because in later iterations they removed the two children that are, I forget what they represent, hunger and something, or I don't remember, that live under Christmas present. Under his cloak are two starving, just emaciated children, and they represent what's going on to children in the world at that time. Debtors' prisons, kids were forced into workhouses and stuff. And so, yes, they get more flashier, but they kind of lose something. But just like Muppet Treasure Island and Muppet Christmas Carol, those are our favorites, and we watch them all the time. But if you haven't watched it, there's the story of him. Lewis Carroll. Is it Lewis Carroll? Who wrote the
Charles Dickens.
Charles Dickens. I don't know why I said Lewis Carroll. But it's called The Man Who Invented Christmas. And in it, we find out the characters. As a writer, I always told Vince that once you've developed them, they have their own personality, their own voice. They will tell you what they want. They're going to, if you try to force them to be something that they're not, the story won't work. It feels contrived. That I've never seen that done in a movie and portrayed correctly as they are in him. Because as he's writing, they're playing out in his head, so they come alive around him. And then when he tries to force the story to go one way, they turn on him and they taunt him. And man, I watched that the other night and I was like, wow, boy, it hit me hard. I was like, that is a great movie. And then the fact of everything he went through, what Dickens had to go through, because he came that close to not getting it published. He had a deadline and he barely made it to get it there. And then the publisher didn't want to print it. He was like, nope, I'm not going to do it. And one of his friends convinced the publisher into doing it. Can you imagine if we didn't have Christmas Carol right now?
Yeah.
There are such things that affect people for generations, and if they were gone, I just don't know what the world would be like if they were missing.
Well, yeah, good point. And so this brings me to the last thing we're going to talk about real quick. And it's really just Dad telling a story about one of his favorite times during Christmas, and that is being Santa's helper.
So me and my brother worked for a tool and die shop called Erie Manufacturing in Houston. And I was going to have to start another job because I didn't have enough money for Christmas. It was paying the bills, but I had nothing to buy. So I was going to go down to one of the other places and pick up another shift from, it was Stanley Tools, but I can't remember what the name was back then. And my sister-in-law and had been asked to help Santa by setting up the Santa Claus booth in Baybrook Mall, and they had hired all the people they needed and everything. And Gene was going to help by taking the photographs, and he was, working. That would be his second job, so they could get Christmas money. And I get this phone call, and I'm really in the dumps because I'm not being able to spend any time. I felt no Christmas spirit whatsoever. I was just bah humbug in it. I was Ebenezer Scrooge all the way, but for a total different reason. And I just didn't feel it in the world. I didn't feel it in my heart. And she's like, Santa can't make it. So we're going to disappoint a bunch of kids if he can't show up for the parade. And so I was like, what are you asking? She goes, Rudolph with your nose so bright, would you be our Santa for one night? And I was like, I'll get back to you. Let me think about it. And I was like, man, I am the last person who would want to help Santa out. I don't think he would want me to do it. And I went to sleep and I thought about it, and it's like, I think I'll do it. I'll try it. What's the worst that can happen? And so I went in, and there was this beautiful Santa suit. I mean, it was theatrical. There was a whole makeup kit and everything. And so they were going to make me up, and I was like, and I looked like an artificial Santa. I was like, no, get out here. Because I'd done drama when I was in high school, and I was like, okay. And so I blended my beard and painted it white, and then put the beard with it and everything. And I rosied up my cheeks a little bit, and but subtle. And I had to, like a football player before they go out. So I'm walking around, or a boxer, and I'm in the suit, and I was like trying to feel it, trying to be Santa, trying to copy his ho ho ho, and the minute they were like, I could hear the speaker and they were talking about all these things and all the kids were going around getting the treats and everything. And they go, "What is that? Is that the sleigh bells? Is Santa coming?" And they walked me out, and I emerged from by where they had this sleigh set up, and I started walking around and greeting everybody, and they started playing Christmas music. So I started singing Christmas songs with the kids, and I grabbed their hands and we walked, and I just had this massive crowd of people following me. And I was just so filled with the spirit of Christmas that they would basically said I looked like I was floating. I was so happy. And when it was over, I didn't want it to be over. I was like, I've just never felt so alive before. And truly filled with the spirit of Christmas, what Father Christmas must feel, seeing the light in children's eyes and love, unconditional love, And at that point, they weren't asking for presents. You'd think, oh, I want this, Santa, bring me that. No, they were just happy, and we were all singing and stuff. And we marched the parade throughout the entire Baybrook Mall. And when we came back, it was over. And I remember one time, one of the elf helpers had to run up and adjust my hair because I was so jumping for joy and stuff that a little piece of the dark hair showed up, but none of the kids saw it. And when it was over with, I was like, man, I'm just hyped. That was great. That's exactly what I needed. And we went back to work, and we were working 2 days. And I remember my brother going, what would you think about being the main Santa? Would you do it? I said, oh, I don't know. He goes, you were going to take another job. And I was like, yeah. And that helped me have enough money to buy Christmas for my family that year. And I was never so happy. But I got to tell you, there were kids who came up and would sit on your lap. And there was one kid, and he was just like this little Poindexter. And he had this rolled up scroll in his hand. And he was like, you have to, Santa tells you to tell them, you never promised them anything, but you promised Santa will try, and they get to ask for one gift. And he was like, I was like, okay, I'm trying to get him to talk, and so we could turn around and take a picture. He goes, I have a small list. And he goes, and it went, and it was just like everything in the world on it. And I was like, so what on this list do you really, really want? What would you really want Santa to bring? And we bring the parents up so they can be there, so that they understand what the kids are asking for. I looked at the mom, and I was just like begging her to help me out here, because he wanted to go through every one of the things on it. And we finally got him to settle on one thing, and we got our picture, and he left. But then you'd have kids that would accidentally have an accident on you, and it's not their fault. And then you'd have the children who were just terrified of you, and then the one kid who's like, you're not Santa. And so what I had started doing, because you'd feel him pulling on the beard, I started bobby pinning it into my real beard. And so when you tugged, it was like pulling on my head, and it would hurt. He decided that he was going to yank on it and prove I wasn't Santa in front of all these kids. And when he did, he yanked on my head, and I went, ah, you are Santa. You are. And I looked, he is Santa. I'm sorry, Santa. I'm so sorry. He was about in tears because he was like, I blew it. Oh my God, did I just blow this? And then so I was like, I'm watching. And you need to go home, and you need to be on your best P's and Q's, and you need to do everything your mom and dad tell you to do. You need to keep your room clean. You do everything. And Santa might forget this little incident when it comes time for me to bring presents. I will. Took the picture, and then as they walked by, the mom leaned over into me, and she goes, thank you. I was like, it's okay. And then came the drunk moms and the teenagers who flirted and would whisper horrible things in your ear that they would like to do to Santa. Well, they weren't horrible, but they were like, oh my gosh. you know, and conveniently putting their hand in the wrong place on Santa's lap. It was one of the most interesting Christmases I've ever had, but I never had more fun just watching kids, and to me, I guess that's what it's really about, the kids. And that drove that home for me. And then we did other things. We did donations and all this other, um, we would pull some of the money to help for needy families and stuff. I'm about to tear up because I've never felt that again like I did that time.
Well, and you always tried to do the whole thing with us doing giving away to needy families, helping out with feeding the homeless on occasion.
Well,
we did a
and,
couple of things like that.
We would do things that were on our jobs too, where we'd pick a family, we'd talk to the local community and find out who needed something. Everybody would gather up, furniture, whatever they needed, and we'd take it to them before Christmas. And I now that we've said that, there was one time where we really pulled together and got this family supposedly lost everything in a fire and all this stuff, and they were really hurting for money. So not only did we get them furniture, television, and clothing and everything, we gave them a considerable amount of money. And the owner of the company and several of the people went to go deliver it as a surprise. And as they arrived, the family was moving stuff out of their apartment into another apartment, so it wouldn't be there when they arrived. And it was pretty horrible. And suffice to say, they did not get that. It went to another family.
Well,
Hey, Vince, Dad says hi and Merry Christmas.
Tell them hi. Tell them I love them.
yep, same here. And that's the thing. So this time of year, we all can be going through things. I mean, this year has been difficult. There's been ups and downs. It's been great getting to have you guys on the podcast. Getting to do this has been a blast. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time. Getting to cherish these memories of everything that we do and we archive with the podcast is great for me. It's therapeutic, and I know it's for you guys as well. And I know that this time of year it's about giving. It's about going above ourselves to the norms that we do every day, the rest of the year, to help others or do things just to bring a little joy. And that's what we need to do in the world as we go. Sometimes there's people out there that are battling depression. They're on the verge of suicide, just like what happened with Jason David Frank. We've lost a lot of people this year, and
it gets really bad this time of year.
It does.
Everything seems amplified
because there's an expectation. There's an expectation to meet, for your family, buying gifts and doing all that stuff. And sometimes the best gift is just picking up the phone and calling a friend or a family member and just talking with them, spending time with those people, playing a board game like David was talking about. We all sometimes need a break. We're all high strung. We're all dealing with like big jobs. Some of us may be unemployed, and, this is their only moment of like zen to kind of get away from the horrors of their life. And I'm glad and I'm thankful that we can give that to you guys. And I want to thank you for checking out the podcast and being a part of it. And, going forward, we're going to be changing a lot. We're going to start doing a news segment in every podcast. And I want to change the format up to make it a little bit more structured. So that way, maybe the podcast will only be about an hour and a half to 2 hours, at a set time. So that way we're not taking up too much of your time. I know we're fun and entertaining. We'll still do the live episodes every 10th episode. Yeah, this has been a blast, and I just want to let you guys know, Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, everything, the stuff that we celebrate this time of the year. Spend time with your family, give them a hug, Call those friends you haven't talked to in a while or family members. It's never too late. Until then, everyone have a great holiday, New Year's. Probably have one more episode up before New Year's. I don't know yet. I'm still kind of thinking of what we're going to do. But if not, we'll see you next year. Have a great one.
Merry Christmas.